bringing you the latest news from Estacado Athletics. This is the Matador Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to 100.7 The Score. This is the high school fan zone. We're going to hold off on the Matador fan zone for just a minute. Eric Ward's juggling some parental duties, and he will be here shortly. That gives us a chance to run through a couple of things. We're going to go through the scores from last week. First of all, I'll give you a run through the city scores that were of interest to me. Let's see. Let me find them here. Thursday night, Lubbock High took on Abilene High. It did not go well for the Westerners. I say that. They played a good first half, but couldn't sustain that against the Eagles, who are a very good team. Lubbock High lost 69-14. Lubbock Cooper went up to Amarillo and won 31-20. I believe that makes them 3-0. I should know this off the top of my head. I don't. I believe they're undefeated in district. They've got two big ones coming up. They're 4-0 in district. They've got two left. They've got two big ones coming up. We'll talk about their schedule this week. In six-man non-district, Christ the King beat Wilson 59-14. Friday night, busy night in and around Lubbock. Friendship went down to Midland, beat Midland Legacy in the Tall City for the first time under Jay Northcutt, 51-48. I was at that game. Tigers led wire to wire. A couple of key defensive stops, and Holden Phillips played what may have been his best game of his senior season at quarterback. It was just incredible. One stat that jumps out for me, 6 of 6 on third down for 187 yards in that game. Just took deep shots, and when you've got Chase Campbell and Leighton Stone taking deep shots is what you should be doing. That's what Holden did. In District 2, 5A Division I, we talked to Coronado just now. They came back and won 34-29, which was a very impressive win, maybe topped only by what Monterey did. They went up to Amarillo and beat Tascosa 56-28, jumped ahead 21-0, and never really looked back. That's a huge win for Monterey. Puts them very much in the playoff hunt. I've seen people say that clinches a playoff spot. I need to get verification on that because there's always scenarios, especially in a district that size, that weird things could happen. But the Plainsmen are in very good shape. In District 2, 4A Division 2, we'll talk to Eric Ward when he gets here. Estacado went up and put a hurting on Perryton, 47-13. Matador's best game of the season so far. Best offensive game for sure, and their defense really clamped down on Perryton. Liberty did not fare with as good a fate. They lost on the road at Borger, 54-23. That drops them to 1-1 in district. They still probably need to win one of their last two to get into the playoffs in their first varsity season. They've got Estacado at home on November 1st and then go out to Levelland on November 8th, so it's going to be a challenge. In TAPS, Trinity Christian lost their second straight district game. District guy on the website here had it identified wrong. I'll have to correct that for him. It's actually TAPS Division 2, District 1. They lost to Fort Worth All Saints 43-6. Good news for the Lions is those two games are in the rearview mirror, and now they play three games that are very much winnable. So they've still got a chance to get into the TAPS playoffs. Lubbock Christian was off last week. We'll talk about what they do this week in a minute. Kingdom Prep played their final non-district game. Took care of Plainview Classical 54-0. I believe that game was called by halftime, the six-man mercy rule. That was the scores last. I should throw out there Idalou, which is on our network here. Idalou had a huge win, 40-6 against Roosevelt. Their Wildcats are playing pretty well. This week, coming up on Raymar Airwaves, Coronado and Amarillo High, Thursday night, 7 p.m., 96.9 The Bull. That'll be Kurt Kaiser, and I assume Trevor Miller will be with him. I'll have to find out about that. Not on the radio, but KPA opens its district season against Midland Holy Cross out at Warwick Memorial Stadium, the Trinity Christian's home field. Friday night, Friendships at home against Odessa High on Double T 97.3 FM. The Tigers can clinch a playoff spot with a win. They've won their first two district games. I mentioned how big last week was for them. Lubbock High is at Caprock, and much like the Coronado Caprock game, that's a huge game for Lubbock High. If they want to keep any flickering playoff hopes alive, they've got to go up there and get a win. That's not on the airwaves here, but that will be Rob Bro and Mark Bro on the call there. Lubbock Cooper's at home against Wichita Falls Memorial in a big one. That's Lubbock Cooper's undefeated. Memorial's lost once, but Memorial is a very good team. Their 2 losses are to Friendship and to Abilene Wiley last week in a very good shootout. That's on right here on 100.7 The Score. Estacado is back home. They're the Lowry Field game on Friday night against Borger, not on Raymar, but Nick Long and Greg Norman will have that for you. Idalu's on the road at Littlefield on Sunny 97.7 FM. Like I said, the Wildcats won 40-6 against a good Roosevelt team last week. Now they go to what a bunch of tradition you got in that game between Idalou and Littlefield. That should be interesting to watch. The other TAPS games in town. Well, one's in town. Trinity Christian is at home against Grapevine Faith. Very much a winnable game. The Lions need that one. Lubbock Christian, as I mentioned, they were off last week. They may have needed that off week because they go to the Metroplex and take on Covenant Christian in Colleyville, which won their game 63-0 last week. The Eagles are always going to be the team to beat in that district, but that's going to be a challenge for them. And then Christ the King opens their district season up in Amarillo at San Jacinto. I think that's a 5 p.m. kickoff up there. So busy schedule as usual. Idalou, I mentioned they're playing Littlefield. Busy schedule as usual, and Raymar will be all over that. And plus, you have the scoreboard show 10 p.m. to midnight on Double T 97.3 FM. And I made my maiden voyage last Saturday on the Saturday morning quarterback show with very high-energy Mark Finkner. I don't know how many coffees he had by the time I showed up at 7 a.m., but he was all full of energy. My wife dropped me off and listened to the show, and she said that she could tell I was a little bit – he knocked me on my heels with the energy. Brendan, have you ever worked with Mark on that Saturday morning show?
Well, I usually produce in the mornings for that show, so he always opens up with a lot of energy, and I have to kind of make sure that, especially when they're on site at the Fraser, I got to bring it down. We have to start a little low, or else it just blows me back. I think his secret is it's no coffee. I think he just wakes up like that.
There's nothing wrong with that. So with my Barry White voice, they had to keep adjusting left and right, and finally found a happy place in between. I told him I would try to match Nick Long's normal energy. I guess my low baritone and Nick Long's higher pitch voice that was an adjustment for Mark. So that was fun to do. I hope I can do that again this season. We'll be back on the high school fan zone. Hopefully Eric Ward will be here shortly, and we'll talk Matadors. This is Randy Rosetta on 100.7 The Score.
Breaking down Estacado sports. This is the Matador Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back in, and we are in the Matador Fan Zone now because Eric Ward has joined us. And we're going to talk a lot about a big win for you guys. So I said this before you got here. I don't know if you were listening. That seems like that was y'all's best game of the season. Offensively, for sure, but whole package seemed like that was as well as you guys have played so far.
Yes, sir. I believe they played a complete game this past game, and everything clicked for them. Everything clicked,
and all the particulars. How long was the road trip? 3.5?
Yeah, about 3.5.
3.5 hours,
yes,
way up there to I know it's still West Texas, it's still the Panhandle, but you're almost crossing a different time zone to get to Perryton. You said you'd never been there before.
Never been there.
You going to spend some vacation time there with you and those 5 sons, or is that?
I think that's a little out of the way.
I don't think Perryton's normally a vacation spot.
Yeah.
All due respect, Joe Sexton, the Liberty coach, who's on your schedule, he's a Perryton native, so I think he loves his hometown, but I think he's glad to be in Lubbock. So.
Yes, sir. It's pretty far.
I'm looking at the numbers. So Bobby, who was the defensive player of the week on HubCityPreps.com, he just switched over and ran the ball a bunch this week. So
yes, sir.
I don't know if that was by design to go from defense to offense, but that young man can do just about anything he wants on the football field.
Yes, sir. I mean, his caliber of athleticism allows him to do anything, and he can fulfill any role that you need him to do.
And I've got you guys with 465 yards of offense, and you only gave up 213. That's pretty good math.
Yes, sir. That's pretty good math. And that's accurate.
Cedric Ross with another big game. You played 2 quarterbacks the other day. Now, was that by necessity, or did you just want to get Christian back out there to kind of get him loose again?
That was just to get them both reps. And take the starting quarterback out. But I like having competition every day and every way in practice and in the game. So I just want to see how much they've improved over the weeks, and they both showed good signs.
How has Christian handled that? Because he was a starter.
Mm-hmm.
You made the move to Darion 3 weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So sometimes a kid can struggle with that. That can get in his head a little bit. How has he handled that?
Well, I explained it to him, and I said, hey, it's not that you're less than or not getting it done. It's just it's a way of making you work harder and getting better all at the same time, and also it's allowing you to lead. And so he's taking it, and I couldn't be more impressed with the way he's responded to it, and he's getting better.
From what he did when he came in, it looks like he's taking it to heart. Let's put it that way.
He's taking it personal, and he's putting in the work, and it's showing.
Before he came in, though, you guys get 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. Doesn't matter what level of football you're at. You jump ahead 20, 21 to nothing. That sets a tone that's hard for that other team to kind of climb out of.
Yes, sir. And it's just a credit to how hard they've been practicing. And so, it's good to see them seeing it pay off in terms of, coming together in the game. But they put a lot of work in practice.
Now, because you guys are in that small district, getting that second win means you're in the playoffs. I know you don't want your guys to start thinking about that just yet because you still got some work to do. But that gives you something to cross off the list. And I know you've got to be proud as a first-year head coach that you can look at your guys and say, okay, we've accomplished something. Now let's build on that.
Well, we don't even look at results. We look at the process. We just work on day by day, getting better in each and every way in practice and, in film. And we just try to get better each day.
And you're going to have to be better. You're going to have to be good this week because Borger got their first district, or that was their first district game. Mm-hmm. Liberty came in with a little bit of a head of steam. They had that nice win against Perryton, and Borger whomped them pretty good, put up 54 points. If a team scores 54 points against Air, that's got to get your attention as a coach that they know what they're doing. They've got a young running back. I'm going to have to look up his name. He had a big night against Liberty. What do you guys – how prepared do you have to be for a team that they come in with that same confidence that you guys have?
You just got to prepare, day in and day out and just, practice as hard as you can. Borger's a really good football team, much respect to their coaching staff. But, at the end of the day, we have a job to do in practice, and that's to get better each day.
That is 7 p.m. Friday at Lowry Field. You'll have the spotlight on you guys there out at Plains Capital Park. It's not on a Raymar network, but Nick Long and Greg Norman will have the call on that one as the Matadors look to go 3-0 in district. They're 2-0 after a 47-13 win at Perryton. Estacado's figured it out a little bit here. I think we talked last week. It took a while to kind of get that chemistry going, but that chemistry is cooking right now. We'll come back after the break on the Matador Fan Zone, talk more about that. This is Randy Rosetta, and this is 100.7 The Score.
Bringing you the latest news from Estacado Athletics. This is the Matador Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Matador Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. This is Randy Rosetta. I'm with Eric Ward, the first-year Estacado coach. Before we jump in, I'm going to run through the radio schedule on Raymar this week one more time. Thursday night, Coronado at Amarillo High on 96.9 The Bull. Friday night, Friendship hosts Odessa High. That'll be on Double T 97.3 FM. Lubbock Cooper's at home against Wichita Falls Memorial right here on 100.7 The Score. Idlew and Littlefield at Littlefield. That's on Sunday 97.7 FM. Pretty slow week on the Raymar airwaves, but there's other games going on, including the Matadors at home Friday night against Borger in Estacado's third district game. You and Lubbock Cooper have that weird schedule where you play 10 weeks and you get the last week of the regular season off. You get to play after that, but still some business at hand this week. What do you have to take from Perryton into this week to keep making that progress you want?
You just got to build on the good things, correct the things you didn't do not so well, and just keep your pedal to the floor in practice. And I always preach, go as hard as you can each play for 4 to 6 seconds. And so we're trying to get the our mantra is being 9 units strong, and that's 9 positions of football. So we're trying to get 9 units strong each week, and so that's our focus.
When we talked last week, we kind of talked about how it makes sense that you got there late. You had to get used to players. Players had to get used to you. Coaches and had to get you. When did you see maybe a light go on, or when did you kind of see it? When did you show up one day and look at your guys and think, I think the corner's here, now let's turn it?
You know, the biggest thing is when they keep showing up. When they keep showing up, they're getting better. And so they've did the groundwork in terms of the process. And, and the process can be funny. We all want the immediate gratification, but sometimes I feel like it's not happening fast enough, and then boom, it happened all at once. And so you just got to keep going in and day out, and just keep the goal, and the big picture, and also the grind. So we focus on winning the grind.
I can probably guess the answer to this, but who are a couple guys that have kind of led the parade for you to get this thing headed to where it's at now?
I would say the senior leaders. Devin Harris, he's one of the most consistent kids that in terms of work ethic. He's going to show up day in, day out. Bobby Ross, he's going to also show up day in, day out, and he's going to demand that everyone does what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it at the level that we need it to be done at.
One kid who's jumped off the page at me the last couple of weeks, Darren Tristan. I know he's a baseball kid. What has he done these last couple of weeks to kind of emerge?
He just, it always starts with the work with us, and so he's been putting forth the effort in practice, the film study after practice, and just putting forth the work ethic overall. And so he's a leader by example. He don't talk much, but with the way he plays, he don't need to talk much because he's out there leading the guys, and he's doing what the coaches ask him to do at a high level.
He's had double-digit tackles these last 2 games, and that's a high school game. That's doing something because it's just you don't have that many snaps.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how many snaps you guys had or how many Perryton had the other night, but to finish with double-digit tackles means he's sticking his nose in there every play.
Yes, sir. He's, credit to the coaching staff, and they've done a great job with the kids, and they're spending a lot of time with them, investing in them, and showing them the way. And so, I'm just happy that it's all working out for Darren.
When Josh came in a few weeks ago, we talked because defense was struggling at that point, and he said, on the radio, on TV, he looked at me and he said, we're going to get better. We're going to make this better. And he has been a man true to his word because your defense has – you knew your offense was going to be okay because of the guys you have over there. Your defense has taken some strides these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's good to see that, both sides of the ball, all 3 phases actually are just taking strides, day in and day out, and, just putting in the work and trying to get better and pushing each other. We compete a lot in practice. I like to say the old cliche, iron sharpen iron, but we hold each other accountable, and we're out there for each other, and we're playing for each other, and that's the biggest deal that you want within a team.
The next challenge for the Matadors comes Friday night at Lowry Field against Borger, District 2 4A Division 2. It's a pretty big one because you got Estacado at 2-0 in district, Borger at 1-0 in district. Somebody's going to come out of there in pretty good shape to be the district champion. And the Matadors, I think the Matadors may be pretty hard to beat here down the stretch. We'll see how things play out. But I think Eric Ward and his coaches have these guys headed in a very good direction. 7 p.m. Lowry Field, not on a Raymar network, but Nick Long and Greg Norman will have that game for you on the radio. I believe it's on LISD TV as well. So keep up with the Matadors. That's going to be a game that has a lot to do with what happens down the road. This has been the High School Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. We'll be back tomorrow night with Lubbock High and Monterey.